My bosses, when I first, we went to them with the idea, there was that little bit of, are you serious? What exactly is this going to be? And we didn't really know what it was going to be. We were kind of making it up as we go on.
I believe you related to me that one of your producers said, just how long do you think this can go? And I wrote a blog about it called Just How Long.
Yeah.
Because I think it's in a lot of ways, it captures the whole experience of our experience and our discomfort with dis-ease. And so, how long? How long are you going to follow him? And so far so good.
So far so good, yeah. And I did tell that producer till the end, and she said, well, he's going to die. And I said, yes, and we all are too. So you got to get over that one, I guess. So we continue on, and the next piece will be about the adaptive yoga, which was fascinating to watch. That was really great. There's a question back there. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm also a sustainer, and I bet we have a lot of sustainers in this audience. My question is, I think you mentioned that you have children, and you talk to your children about this. Could you talk a little bit about how you're continuing to talk to them and what their reaction is?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And of course, our children are adults, and it's still just absolutely knocked them off their center.
I think they're getting better.
Well, they are, and we do. I think we talk with them differently because they're different kids. Our 30-year-old, you have to kind of slam him up the side of the head to get his attention.
Well, he has a hard time with change. And I would say for the first 3 or 4 months, he just had a hard time even being in the same room.
Yes.
He'd get tears in his eyes, and he just had a really rough transition. It was really tough for him.
Right. But we do have to talk about the changes. And our oldest is a lawyer. Don't hold that against him. Married to a lawyer. Don't hold that against her. And we actually, I think just recently, I had changed my directives because they were written for an able-bodied person and not for a person like me. And so in changing them, I sent them to David and Athena both and asked them to look them over before I finally nailed them down. And I think we try to bring both of them into those kinds of things to discuss the types of things that we're thinking about, not in a maudlin kind of way, but we really need to get this taken care of. And they get that part. And then my younger son, John, he and his wife, Kirsten, take me to yoga every Monday night. And you just haven't lived until your kids take you to adaptive yoga. and kind of get you into Warrior 3 without you doing a lot of the work. So
you mentioned directives, and I have to ask you this while I have the opportunity. Do your directives deal with, obviously, what kind of care you want in your later weeks or days? I don't know how many weeks ago this was, or a couple months ago, I guess, you brought up palliative care. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I hate to say this, oh my God, is he dying? Now, because because I thought palliative care in my head is, that's it, he's on his way to the hospice, and that's all there is. And I thought, well, what happened here? Maybe could we talk a bit about palliative care, because you were at Mayo talking about that with a specific palliative care team.
In fact, I think the fact that Seasons Hospice co-sponsored this, or it really came from Carolyn's vision, is so appropriate, because I think we begin to think we have this "that's all she wrote" attitude in the United States when we talk about hospice, we talk about palliative care, and yet this is an aging population, and so in just in very cold numbers kind of way, we're all going to need some form of palliative care in some way, shape, or form. And frankly, if we don't get our heads around that, that is one of the places where our healthcare system just isn't ready for us. It's not ready for the palliative needs that we have. In doing my directives, I ended up taking it out of the realm of, I don't want, if I'm in a vegetative state, permanent vegetative state, which I think most of us think about if we do directives. Not all of us do think about directives. I had to put it into places like, what happens if I choke? And do I want to be intubated? Is that a good idea? And those decisions are between me and my local EMTs. But the fact is that you begin to think that way, and palliative care takes on a whole new meaning. And so again, it's coming back to living a good life until you have a good death.
Do I have another question out there? Yes, thank you.
Bruce, I wonder how your ears or your heart has changed to hear the voice of God through this period.
Well, I'm a choral musician, and I used to tell my choir, my Sunday morning choir, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give people a glimpse of the face of God. And in the voices that you bring together, and the way that you sing together, the way you express this text, it's our opportunity to peel away a little bit of the despair that exists in the lives of our congregants. As I have moved into ALS, it would be so easy to fall into despair, but I have seen, I have experienced, I know that there is something so much greater, and I'm aware of it. And and so despair is just not part of the picture. So I don't believe this has brought me closer to God. What I believe it has done is it's made me more aware of how God is everywhere, and in everything that I'm lucky enough to be a part of.
Great question. Another question that I'm having trouble seeing? Yes, let's see. In the middle over here? Yes, hello.
Yeah, I'm just so thankful for you and your journey that you're sharing with us. And one of the things that just strikes me is your honesty and that purposefulness in that honesty. And my question is, have you always been this honest?
Just in case you didn't hear that question, for our folks in the back, has Bruce Kramer always been this honest?
You know, Facebook is a wonderful thing. And I'm just humor me here a little bit. I keep connecting with all these people I went to high school with. And I believe that when I was in high school, I was probably honest as only an 18-year-old white male can be. And over time, I've learned to hold that honesty in check. And in the process, it comes back to that opening of your heart. In the process of checking my honesty, maybe just not saying what was there, not naming what was present, I also found that maybe I had closed my heart. And so as this has moved, and it moves through my body, the need for honesty becomes so much greater. And yet it's not the brutal honesty in that respect. It's the loving honesty of just naming what is. There is an isness to dis-ease. There is an isness to ALS, and I acknowledge it.
I'm wondering
Yes.
if you have reconnected with your neurologist so that others may receive devastating diagnoses like this with compassion, but also with an element of hope.
You know, I have thought about this a
Yes.
lot. And
Well, he knows you're not too happy with him if he listens to Minnesota Public
if he
Radio.
listens to NPR, you know, and I think the thing that's holding me back is I'd have to get a referral from my primary care physician. But in seriousness, I have thought about it, and thought about it from the point of view of, I was so angry about it at first, and really, I likened the first couple of months that we came off of that 15 minutes, just 15 minutes. It was post-traumatic stress, and so not only are we dealing with ALS, but we're dealing with PTSD in a lot of ways, and so I would love to lovingly go back and offer my story back to him with suggestions, but I am serious about having to get the referral.
Didn't you speak, though, to a group of medical students?
We did.
Yes,
We
yes. You go ahead.
We talked to a group of medical students at the University of Minnesota, and that was one of the things that we said was, you've got to understand that it's a really painful thing, and it's not painful just for the person receiving the news, but it splashes all over the family, and there's got to be a way to do it in a patient and a caring way.
Compassionate way.
A compassionate way.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And they heard us.
Yeah, they really did.
They really heard us.
These are first-year medical students, 150 of them, in a room, and that was a very good thing too. In fact, I am going back there to talk with them a week from tomorrow. So to the next group of first-year medical students up at the U.
Oh, can I go to that, please?
Let me find out.
Okay, thanks. That may be kind of interesting to
Yeah.
actually hear that, you know. Yes, thank you. The question was, and you maybe have all heard this, the first one is, what would you really like to say to that original neurologist? Secondly, both of you have are navigating the medical system right now, and you run into good, bad, and indifferent. How do you deal with that? What have you learned so far? What have you seen?
I think we've had wonderful medical care. I think the problem that we come up with is the referral. And we have an insurance that every single time we have to come down to Mayo, we have to run down these referrals. And it's like, well, we're going to go every 3 months. Couldn't you just do one referral and know that it's going to continue?
We're working on that.
So it's more of the systems than the people. The people we've met at Mayo have been just really wonderful.
I would also say, I have come across a couple of other people that you haven't had to deal with. I participate in clinical trials. Again, it's a way of trying to give back. A clinical trial, you don't do it for yourself. And so if you are thinking about getting into a clinical trial because there's a cure there for you, the way that the system is set up, there isn't a cure there for you. You're doing it to advance science. But in the clinical trials, I've run into some people that are maybe a little perfunctory in the way that they handle it. And I find eye contact is a really good way to get somebody back into the room. And I'm not shy anymore about saying, you know, I'm giving a lot of my time to be here with you, and I want your full attention. And that actually has been successful. In terms of what would I really say to the neurologist, 2 years ago, it wouldn't have been very nice, and I don't think it would have been very constructive. One of the things that I've learned about all of this with ALS is that it's more of a spiral in the learning than a curve. You learn something, and then you learn something deeper, and then you learn something more deeply. And so I would really love to deeply speak with him, and the first thing I would do is I would put my hand on his hand and make sure that he was there. That physical touch, the physical presence is so important.
I think, Carolyn, how much time would you like? A couple more questions? Okay, good. Your mic is over there, so I have this over here. I've got, okay, maybe 1, 2, and then 3 over here. How does that sound? So yes, you first. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bruce and Ev. I had a really good professor once who taught me a lot about writing, and one who brought me joy. And I asked him once before, and so I'm suggesting again, your blog, your journey, all that you're teaching us is so beautiful that I hope that this blog is going to be turned into your book. And because you're reading another one, you like some of it, you may disagree with the parts of it, I want to look forward to reading yours. So thank you so much for everything that you've given and all that you're teaching us.
Thank you, Kit. It's good to see you.
We should say, Dis-Ease Diary is the blog. In case you haven't gone on the internet to find it, do sign up for Bruce's feed, and you won't forget it. And that was the thing that got me interested, was reading the blog, because it's just so well written.
It's just therapy. I would also say that medicine in the United States is really pushing for efficiency, and efficiency is and productivity, and we are trying to apply these concepts that work really well in an industrial model to a model that is about care and connection and really about what makes us human. I understand that there are needs, and I understand you have to balance books, but it's not efficient to sit quietly with someone. It's not efficient to just let someone cry and to just be with them. And yet, those are the types of gifts, I think, that again, come from this type of existence. And if I were going back to that neurologist, I clearly, to me, he didn't know what to say. So don't say anything. Be human with me and grieve with me a little bit and just be a part of this. That it's not efficient. Probably not going to be billed in a good way, but it's certainly healing.
I'm going to take one final question. What do you think, Carolyn? Go ahead.
I just had a question about, in one of the prior pieces you had talked about receiving, you were in a clinical trial and that apparently they'd shut down, but you had felt better while receiving the medication and that you might start another trial here at some point. Maybe that was going to be talked about in the future pieces, but I'm wondering if you did find out whether you were on a placebo or on the actual drug, and if you have enrolled in another trial. So.
Yes and yes. I was on the drug. What I felt from the drug was not measured in the trial. One of the things that is just becoming clear, has only really become clear in the last 3-4 years about ALS, is that there is executive function compromise for about 50% of us. And none of that is rarely measured in the trials. What I felt with that particular drug was I felt like I wasn't swimming 6 inches underwater. I felt like I didn't have to fight so hard to think clearly because of partly just fatigue and other things. So I do miss that. I miss the drug. I don't miss the grease that it used to put onto my face, but I do miss the drug.
But you had such a nice sheen.
I did have a nice sheen. I looked healthy.
A glow.
But I am now in a new trial. They have, and it's hard to get into this one. They've screened 27 people up in Minneapolis for it, and I'm still the only one that has been accepted into it. It's a drug by Cytogenics. Interestingly, the week before I went into the trial, I was down to Mayo for my quarterly visit, and I was fitted for a neck brace because about this time of day my neck gets pretty tired and I start drooping. I haven't used it yet. my neck is not tired anymore. So I'm thinking I'm on the drug. And if I'm not on the drug, you know, the placebo effect is a wonderful thing. And we should harness it.
Well, now you know why I'm forever grateful that I received that cosmic ping a couple days after I talked with you.
Me too.
Yeah, I am, because I could have just abandoned this whole thing and said, I don't think I'm up to the task of doing this, but I am so, so glad that I have done this. I'm a changed person by knowing you both, truly, and I'm just proud to call them my friends as well. We've become good friends. And that's not, you're not supposed to be real friendly with your subjects. You're supposed to have them out here. But, when you're doing something like this, you can't. You just can't. So thank you. Thank you for everything. We will, of course, continue to follow you on the journey. You can listen on the air and online. And, of course, really do read Bruce's blog because it is so very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Ev Emerson, Dr. Bruce Kramer.
Thank you.